This is Transqat. What is Transqat? Transqat is a safe space. It's a place for respectful conversations about transgender issues. It's a place for queer people to come tell their stories. I'm host Clare McCarthy. Welcome to Transqat. At the beginning of the 21st century, Guinness ran a series of ads featuring two Terry Gilliam-esque animated characters who work at the brewery.
What are you holding now?
A six-pack.
A six-pack? Brilliant! What's it do?
Well, I figured out how to carry 6 beers at the same time.
Carry 6 beers at the same time? Brilliant! Let's drink them.
You know, I've been thinking, it might not be the smartest idea to drink 6 beers at the same time.
Don't drink 6 beers at the same time? Brilliant!
Brilliant!
Chion Wolf is brilliant in every sense of that word. Her intellectual curiosity is at the heart of the conversation in this episode, but she also brings warmth and light just by entering the room. And then there's the way the Guinness guys use the word. Chion is exciting and fun. She's an otter of the universe. When I decided I wanted to do something special for my 50th episode, she was my first thought. I reached out and unexpectedly, I heard back within 24 hours. And let's just say that an email from Chion contains significantly more exclamation points than I'm used to. Her yes was enthusiastic, and it made me feel good about myself.
Brilliant!
Chion is the host and producer of the show Audacious with Chion Wolf, which you can find Saturday mornings on 90.5 WNPR, Connecticut's public radio station. It's also available as a podcast. I first encountered Chion's voice back when she was doing humorous segments for the Colin McEnroe show. In our conversation, I wanted to get at the profound sense of humanity and compassion I find in her program, and I wanted to know how that reflects aspects of her as a person. Unsurprisingly, she more than once turns the tables and starts questioning me.
Brilliant!
Yeah. It's so funny. Every now and then when I have people do sound check, in public radio, we would say, we're doing sound check. Tell us what you had for breakfast. And they'll be like, apples. Okay, we're trying to get you to talk.
Do you put anything on them?
Well, no, that's the thing is that you just got to get them to talk. I don't really care what you had for breakfast. Yeah, right. But I just need you to say some words. I told you this is for sound check. Just say the words. Just say the words. Yeah,
so, well, I want to make you feel good about your team because, well, if only by comparison, you've got, you run through their names, every Jessica, and this and this.
Khalil.
This is my team.
Yes, I looked at your website. It's wonderful.
And they're lovely.
Yeah.
They're very dear to my heart.
Are they?
They don't do anything.
Such slackers, such freeloaders. Nope, they're not going to help you with editing.
Look at Newt. He's not going to do it.
Newt doesn't care about whether you call me Chion or Chion, No, what Lady Bethesda doesn't care about the way that the theme music fades.
Okay, so I don't know about whiskey, but Nomi snuggles like a baby.
Yes.
But she
Nomi.
climbs up here, and no matter how shitty your day has been,
the best.
That is just okay. I'm fine. This is great. It's fine.
We don't deserve them.
So you've got the cat and the dog.
Yeah, Whiskey and Gray.
Gray,
yep.
right?
And 4 chickens. Yeah.
4 chickens?
Yeah, some hens in the backyard. They're ridiculous. They're totally ridiculous. Have you ever had chickens?
Rustic frontier woman,
Yeah,
you.
that's right. In Hartford, that's right. Where do you live?
I live in East Haddam.
Okay. Mercifully, in Hartford, you're not allowed to have a rooster, which I appreciate because they're so freaking loud.
Yes.
Hens are fine.
And that whole myth of, with the dawn, no, he's doing that shit all day.
That's right. I know, I would not be able to record my show from home if that were the case. Yeah. I already got the ice cream person, I got stereos, I got car alarms, but I don't have to worry about roosters.
So listen, I have a present for you. And this, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but radio apparently is like an audio medium.
Oh, I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to have to describe it to the listeners.
Okay, first of all, it's a tiny bag.
It is.
And it is, as they say, cute. Okay, it's a tiny figurine of a person crouching down in a hot pink outfit with a fish at the end of a rod, and their hair is multicolored. What is this?
Oh, my goodness. Do you recognize? You don't
recognize
No, I don't
recognize this at all. What is it?
Oh, this is delirium.
This is delirium?
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me more than that. Oh my God, I'm following my fishies because my fish knows where to go. My fish is the Borghal Rantipole. I don't know how to pronounce that. Who I made look like a fish because that's the rest of the line.
I'm squealing in nerdy delight over here on the other side of the table.
Thank you so much. How did you know?
Very welcome. You mentioned it in one of the episodes. Now, we should explain. We should explain because sadly there are possibly people who are not familiar with the Endless.
Oh, sure.
So maybe we should just start there.
No, that's a good place to start. So my big brother Christopher, who's a total comic book nerd and always has been and always will be, introduced me to Sandman. It was the first graphic novel that I ever really read, and it's the Endless, which is these siblings, and their names all begin with D, but it's like death, destruction, desire, despair, delirium, who was once delight.
Yes.
And so all these siblings who have these very unique realms which they control and are responsible for. And you meet them and they interact with each other, and they, of course, have their own sordid and interesting histories. And Delirium was inspired by, according to Neil Gaiman, the creator, Tori Amos, who is a big influence in my life. And she is, I can see it, because Delirium is of her namesake. She's kind of wild, and the non sequiturs are her jam. And my brother used to call me non sequitur girl,
which is fine as superpowers go.
Oh yeah, if you're gonna have one,
yeah.
So it's funny. I was just I'm redoing some tattoos, and there's a tattoo I was thinking about getting with Delirium on it. And I love the fact that Delirium used to be delight, because I often feel a deep sense of delight. And so, thank you.
You're very, very welcome. I want to ask about why of the 7 that's the one you would pick, but I think I want to go with that first. Delirium used to be delight.
Yeah. And
when I listen to Audacious, that's what I hear. I hear somebody who has an intellectual curiosity, but it's not just intellectual curiosity. It's really from the heart, and you put yourself either in conversations with individuals or in situations like the dumpster diving or the BDSM dungeon party.
Yeah, we could talk about that for an hour.
Maybe we should. You very clearly are taking delight in what you're doing. And I wanted to start there. How do you look at Audacious in terms of what you're putting in, what you're getting out?
First of all, let me fix my mic. It's gone down. Hold on. Okay.
So you're not willing to just sort of slump in your seat until it hits the ground? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Fine, Ms. Professional. That's fine.
Thank you for asking that, and thank you for noticing that. There's a rule that we have in my production team that when we come up with an idea for a show, there has to be a reaction in our bodies to the idea. Our hearts skip a beat or drop, or my knees get weak, or I get a little tingly, or I lose my breath, or I have a huge smile on my face. And so I need to feel something. And sometimes it is fear. Like with dumpster diving, there was a sense of kind of grossness too, and like, wait,
oh my goodness,
do we have to? Okay. And also I'm really delicate about food, so there's a possibility I might eat a tarantula burger at some point in the future. And so having that reaction to the show idea, I think, is part of the delight, is part of the being in touch with a real childlike sense of wonder about what's behind this, and there's got to be more to it, because I'm feeling something here.
Yeah. I'm going to throw a comparison at you, and I'm going to fight the urge to womansplain it. The Chion Wolf who hosts Audacious, I find very similar to the LeVar Burton who hosted Reading Rainbow.
Wow. That's an enormous compliment.
Yeah.
I was born in 1980, so I grew up with LeVar Burton, both with Reading Rainbow and Next Generation.
Yes.
My first 3 crushes were Sigourney Weaver in Alien, Gina Davis in Beetlejuice, and Tasha Yar.
Yes.
In Next Generation.
Tasha Yar was an icon.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Call me. Also, she was in Pet Sematary. That was nice.
I'm gonna jump in and womansplain anyway. Can't help it. There's only so much estrogen can do, you know. But it's that open heart, it's that open mind, it's that curiosity. And I'll be honest, I can't remember a single book that he reviewed, but his enthusiasm, his willingness to, hey, let's go see the way the crayon factory works. Or so this is how a dairy farm operates. You know what it is? This is just occurring to me as I say it to you, as I point at you across the table.
I love it. Keep it coming.
It's for both of you, it's as if your sense of ironic detachment has been surgically removed. Because when I look at, I've binged about 24 of your episodes, and a lot of them, in somebody else's hands, there would be a wink at the audience, like, hey, this is wacky and zany, isn't it? And that never, ever even suggests itself on Audacious. You are sincere no matter what environment you're in. And that reminds me of him.
Wow. Thank you. I see that. And that's an enormous compliment. It makes me think about my mother. I think my mom has a big role in that. When I was growing up, every time I had a question, like most kids do, you know how when you have a question, the person you're asking may say, "Oh, you didn't know that?" Oh. It happens to all of us, right?
Yeah.
Right, and you get that feeling.
Yeah.
And then you never want to ask another freaking question
I'm an
again.
idiot.
Right. My mom, whenever I would ask her any question, would get over the moon excited about it. Like, she's extremely demonstrative and very expressive. And I knew that when I asked my mom a question that I would get that response. And so sometimes I would ask her questions just to get the response, you know? And she demonstrated for me what it was like to be excited to find the answer and to make that connection. And so I think she played a big role in forming that in me. Yeah, no, you know what? She really loved talking about language and the origins of words. So she would say, well, that's from the Latin. Da, 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 da.
Can I have your mom's number?
Absolutely. We could interview her next.
Yeah.
She'd be great.
Bring Mom
She'd
in.
Be great. Yeah, she was a wealth of knowledge, and I also had 3 big brothers who would now and then give me some of their insights in the world.
Brothers know everything.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
So let me go to a couple of the specific episodes then, because there are so many standouts. You've won awards for Going Flat. Is an episode that has some crossover for trans folks. The relationship to top surgery, whether you're talking about transmasculine folks or transfeminine, really is tied tight to that gender dysphoria and then that gender euphoria that follows, hopefully. So that I found that one really powerful. The nudist episode.
Have you ever been to a nudist resort?
Oh God, no.
Wait, okay, your body just contracted. Why not?
Because I'm not comfortable with my body. Yeah, even at this point, when I'm so much more comfortable, and I can list off for you things I like about my body, could not have done that for the first 55 years of my life.
How long has it been since you've been able to list off positive things about your body?
Last 5 years.
What's different?
My hair.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that I reclaimed from my body. Was I started growing my hair out, and I was like, I like this. This is me.
This is me. I see me.
This is, I could see,
Yes.
yeah, in glimpses when I walk by a store window or something. Oh, that's me. And top surgery was very, very important for me. There are other parts of my body that I love.
Sure.
But to be vulnerable that way.
Yeah.
And you came across in that episode. I don't know if that was the miracle of editing, but you came across as fearless.
Well,
you were like, you pull into the parking lot and you're like, yep, okay.
I mean, I definitely pulled up feeling anxious. I have parts of my body I don't feel confident about as well. And what boggled my mind was that as soon as I took my clothes off and I stepped out, I realized that I was as vulnerable as everybody else in terms of being naked. And also that you couldn't tell about wealth or, well, I mean, with the exception I've got a bunch of tattoos, so that I've got to have some kind of spending money. But I also imagine that it's different when you're trans and it's just a different experience. Are there nudist resorts that have a strong
for
trans?
gender diverse folks?
Yeah.
I've never looked into it. I've got to imagine that that's a market out there somewhere.
I hope so. I'm not sure when you listen to the nudist episode, I hope that people will feel compelled and like, oh, like I saw her discomfort in the beginning. And then by the end, I was mad I had to put clothes back on. I was like, well, I guess I can drive home in my bra because it can be like a bathing suit.
Sure.
Right? I guess. But I remember, and I also, 2 days later, I was naked at a party. They went skinny dipping. And honestly, I'm just thinking like, I'm on a roll. I can make a thing out of this.
Yeah. Think of the money you could save.
Oh, sure.
With the whole wardrobe thing.
Exactly. But
you're in radio.
I know. Nobody knows.
Never know.
Honestly, I've done interviews Without pants. I'll say it. I've done interviews without pants. You can't tell. Why do I need pants? What are pants for? It was hot. It was hot. I won't tell you which one.
Now I'm going to go back and re-listen. You
can hear the lack of the ruffling
I'm hoping
pants.
it wasn't Valerie Plame. It's
No,
really...
fully although I did a show where I interviewed the founder and CEO of the International Butler Academy in the Netherlands, and I wore my tuxedo top for that, but like green basketball shorts because I couldn't see. Perk of the job.
Now, we've been talking for a few minutes now.
Yeah.
Tell me which is my favorite episode, because I have a favorite. I've
Can I see your list?
Yeah.
Oh.
I highlighted the ones that I wanted to ask you about.
Sure.
But from what you've seen of me so far, which is my favorite episode?
Oh gosh, that's hard. Let me see. Let me see. I wonder, and this is maybe I'm pigeonholing you, but
Okay.
trans voices.
Oh, I did love that.
That was
Let's
so cool.
go there. That's not my favorite, but yeah, that one meant a lot to me because of my voice. I have a voice that is a dead giveaway for a trans woman, and that question of should you do voice training? Should you relearn how to speak?
Would you like your voice to be different?
I think about it. I am misgendered all day, every day.
Would you want your voice to be different so that people would stop misgendering you?
Yeah.
Or would you want your voice to be different because the voice you have doesn't feel like you?
No, I like my voice, actually. And
I do too.
Thank you. And as I've gotten compliments doing the show, I'm like, yeah, I think the quality of the conversation would suffer a little if I was performing.
Yeah. And it seems to me, my limited understanding is that this is something that takes a long time to change.
Yeah.
And I interviewed a woman who was she's a trans woman in the trucking industry. And she'd been in the trucking industry for 12 years and only came out like 2 years ago. And so I braced myself when I asked her, like, so how did your coworkers respond to you coming out? And she was like, great. They take care of me. They ask me how I'm doing. Like, I've had no issues. This is the trucking industry. I couldn't believe it. But I've also talked with her about her voice and how she's been adapting her voice. And she's got a podcast as well. And you can hear in the beginning of the podcast how her voice sounds versus the end of it. And after a while, it gets tiring. And so her register goes down. And so it's an ongoing thing. But that's something that she wants.
When I first came out, I was talking with a trans group in the Hartford area, but I was talking to this one trans woman, and she said, look, I understand that everybody wants top surgery and bottom surgery, and that's understandable. But I'm going to tell you honestly, nobody's ever going to see that. Everybody sees your face. Everybody all day sees your face, so you should really consider facial feminization surgery. And for whom bottom surgery was like, yep, let's do that now. That scared me. No thank you. Even though it would make a lot of those interactions where people look and they're not sure what they're looking at, this would give them a couple more clues that it was somebody feminine. Yeah, that's not worth it. I'm too scared of that. And my dearest friend, Karen, said, you can't. I like your face. You can't change that.
Makes me think about my producer, Jessica Severin D. Martinez, is from Germany and has a beautiful German accent. And we were talking a while ago about it. And she said, yeah, I've been really trying to lose the accent and Americanize. And my heart dropped. No! And so I think about your face and I think about your voice. And I mean, we're really just meeting for the first time now. But I feel like what's most important, and this is easy for me to say, having to not go through life worrying about my perception and dealing with other people's reactions. But I think, God, I'd love you to just be exactly who you want to be and not change for anybody else. But I also recognize that that's easy for me to say.
Yeah. There are days when the misgenderings just pile up, and what should be something that's easily sloughed off, at the drive-through window, on the phone to customer service somewhere, is just one too many, and it sends you into this spiral of, yeah, I get it. I know what I look like. I know what I sound like. Ooh, that took a dark turn.
That's okay. How do you take care of yourself on the hardest days?
Honestly, Nomi.
Your cat.
My cat. You can hear the purr, but you can feel it right in your body. And the worst days, she can turn that around.
How long do you think it'll take? You know, we're in Connecticut, and it's this part of the world. And I know that this part of the world is not like every other part. But how long do you really think it'll take before you can just go through a drive-through and people don't bat an eye? It's not a thing. Everybody's met so many different kinds of people who present in so many different kinds of ways. I don't know. How long do you think it'll be?
Not my lifetime. But I do hold out hope that things like that, anybody in that kind of a position is working off a script. Anybody working a drive-through window, anybody on customer service, clerks, retail clerks, they're all working off a script, and the company says this is what you need to say. If we could just get to a point where we say, why don't you drop the ma'am and sir? 50% of the cisgender women who get ma'amed are offended. All of the trans people whom you misgender are hurt. Why don't we just drop that? If I'm coming to you to buy my decaf, there are plenty of ways you can make me feel seen and heard and welcome here without relying on that old trope. And that, I think, is fixable and would pave the way for other changes down the road.
Yeah. And I think that we can learn quickly, especially, I've seen it. I mean, even within myself, I remember I used to have a storytelling show called The Mouth Off at the Mark Twain House. And I used to say, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. And then a friend of mine who's trans said, you know, it's not really like that. It's not that there's men on one side and women on the other. Jeffrey Marsh has also talked about this. It's not, men and women, as we call them and as we think of them, are not on the edges here and then we're in between them. Right. That's not how it works. And so now I just say, welcome.
There you go.
Everybody. Or just
as
welcome.
A language person, I would like to applaud your use of eliminating superfluous words.
Yeah. And I think I know we can do it. It's really just like anybody who maybe accidentally misgenders someone or slips and they learn. We also learn not only to say, oh, sorry about that, but also we don't need to be like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. This keeps happening, and have you deal with my
thing. Yes.
crap. It just say, oh, sorry, Miss or Claire.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's, you acknowledge to me, not to the room, but to me, just you and I, and then you correct, and then you move on. And I would suggest one further step that if it's a recurring thing, if you're constantly misgendering me, maybe you should reflect as to why. Because and it's probably not ill intent. There's something in there that's making you do that. What's that line in the Sting song? Men go crazy in congregations; they only get better one by one. And we saw that really with the 45th president. Is that when you get a crowd of angry people riled up, there's no telling what's going to happen. But if you and I sit down and we're respectful of each other, we can come away with a better understanding.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, it's not world-changing, but it's important.
May I ask, when I think about a better future where you can go through the drive-through and is for you personally, you're not speaking for everybody, but for you personally.
Well, you're in luck because last week I was voted the spokesperson for all trans and non-binary people.
Oh, and non-binary?
It's a huge burden.
That's a lot.
Yeah, because I'm not. I'm very binary.
Right. So when is for you personally an ideal future when it comes to how cis people process and receive you and understand you? When you go through the drive-through, is an ideal future, oh, wow, I'm sorry, I didn't realize, and cool, cool. Or maybe, is it total like, meh, not a big deal?
Yeah, in terms of broad interactions with people that I'm not ever going to see again, you shouldn't have to care about me or my feelings. Just make my decaf and hand it over. But then there are the interactions that are with people in your workplace, in your family, among your friends who have been friends, before transition, where there's more at stake. I'm gonna say it. My dad's in his 80s and he's in a care facility up in Massachusetts. And when I go to visit him, he pretty regularly dead names me, which is one thing because, he's in his 80s. He had a firstborn son, and had a half a century of that being the case. And then all of a sudden that kind of changed. So he's not doing it with malice. He's not always entirely present. So I get it. Hurts every time. I will go back to the car and not be able to drive for a little bit. But I know it's not out of any sort of ill intent. So I think there's a balance there of me paying attention to the specifics of that interaction and deciding, would the situation be best served by me having a conversation with you? Would it be better for me to just swallow my feelings on this one because it's really not worth it? And there are all these options, which is exhausting, Chion.
I was about to ask, do you feel like you're always bracing yourself?
Yeah.
Like you walk into the library today to set up and you introduce yourself, hi, I've got this room reserved. And as soon as you speak, are you always bracing yourself?
Yeah, always. Because there's the sort of, what do they call them? Microaggression kind of things. But we live in a time where the macroaggressions are very real as well. Karen told me when I first transitioned, she said, find a cisgender woman and walk through the city with her and make her narrate what's going on in her head the whole time. And you'll understand a little better. And yeah, now I don't want to be in a parking garage at night. I don't, I'm very aware of my circumstances at all times because you don't know.
Have you ever feared for your life?
I don't think so. And that's... All right, remind me to come back to Jeffrey Marsh but
happily.
I don't pass for the most part. And that carries, and whereas I consider passing a privilege that I very dearly wanted, the fact that most people can look at me and spot exactly who I am means I still could be a physical threat. And I think sometimes that carries weight. In a situation where I might be physically in danger, I think it would make someone think twice about, okay, this isn't quite the pushover. But there again, it is exhausting.
You are always calculating.
Always. Yeah. It's nonstop.
But it's, I want to say it's better than, I don't think that's probably the right word, but it sounds like you're saying that it's better than the alternative.
Oh my God, as exhausting as it can be, it is so much less than what I had to put myself through when I was closeted, where you had to watch every gesture, every word. Am I giving myself away? Do you suspect? Do you know? It was untenable. It reached a point where it was just untenable. Yeah. This level of stress is so much more manageable because at the end of the day, I can go home and look in the mirror and go, okay, well, that's me. Yeah. And for the first time in my life, anybody who says, I like you, I love you, you are really good at this, they mean it. I couldn't believe that because the voice in the head constantly was saying, you don't even know me. Right. If you knew me, you'd hate me. You wouldn't be talking to me again. Oh, being out is so much better.
I love that for you.
Thank you.
Jeffrey Marsh.
When you did the Jeffrey Marsh episode, he did what you just did. I didn't actually count the minutes, but I'm gonna say 2/3 of the show was him asking you questions about a difficult time you were going through. You are, in Audacious, you are masterful at knowing when to insert yourself into the narrative. There are episodes that are made super special because you open yourself up. And so I wanted to start with the Jeffrey Marsh episode. Tell the people, if they haven't listened, where you were.
Oh man, I had just begun. I thought my wife was leaving me because she woke up one morning wanting to have children, and that's something that we explicitly talked about not wanting. She parroted everything I said about not wanting children for 6 years. It was something we talked about on the first date. I even did a radio show about antinatalism, which is the belief that it is morally wrong to have children, and how I overlap with some of those beliefs and things like that. And so it was just wild that she would wake up with this new desire. And at the same time, I'd also seen some evidence of her having an affair with the woman next door, the woman who lived next door for us for 3 years. But it was so unbelievable that she would do it. She just didn't, she wasn't like that. And so when we got divorced, I thought it was because she wanted children. And so when I had my interview with Jeffrey Marsh, she had not yet admitted to the affair. She did shortly after. And so I was pretty broken up about losing my wife, but at the same time, I told her, like, I'm your biggest fan. You're leaving the woman of your dreams and the house of your dreams and the dog of your dreams and the cat to go do something that you don't even know if you can do. And, you know, maybe she would have to adopt I don't know. So I was just like, this is an incredibly brave, painful for both of us thing that you're doing. Yeah. And at the same time, I'm so sad. We just got married months before, and we were together for 6 years. And so when I connected with Jeffrey, and I knew they have a background in Zen Buddhism, and I started following their account because I needed help. I started following a lot of different accounts that were very big picture spiritual stuff. And so I admit that when I connected with Jeffrey, there was a way back in my head, like, maybe they can help. Yeah, and I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. I felt so welcome and warm and able to connect with them in this way. And so, you know, there was a point in the interview where it led perfectly into it. And I just was utterly myself, as I always am. And thankfully they were just so if you hear the episode, you hear how they are lovingly stern with me.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I remember being, you know, almost masochistic about being sad. And they were like, wait, you're sad about your divorce with your wife? Like, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, you're allowed to do that, you know.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I am. Yeah, it was incredibly powerful, and
it was
just
the
felt seen by
most
them.
loving way I've ever heard for somebody to call you on your bullshit.
Yeah, totally.
You know, it was just like,
and that's also my kink, by the way, is being
being
corrected and called out. Oh, bring it on! If I ever start dating somebody and they say, you know, Chion, you said something that really hurt my feelings or really pissed me off, I would be like, tell me about it after I take all my clothes off, because that is the sexiest thing you could possibly say to me. Correct me. When people go, actually, woo!
oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
I really love it.
Get me some water.
I know some people hate that, but when they're right, I love when people stand up to me. I love when people give me a true perspective of theirs that I can see. I don't know what it is. I love being corrected, which is why, like, I wish I was corrected more by people close to me.
I will keep the possibility of correcting in the next half hour open.
Great, thank you. I'd
we'll
love
just
it.
see what I can come up with.
I'd love it, because I get when you get corrected, you grow.
You do.
What is there better than that? What are we here
vistas,
for? But that?
Right? New vistas open up.
Right.
You're like, oh.
Yeah, and I mean, we've all got egos, we've all got pride, but man, I tell you what, like I do not react in the ways that so many people react when they get corrected. I don't know. There's just something about it. I get a dopamine hit.
Now, I bounced around when I was listening. I didn't listen in chronological order, so I feel as if I have a little mosaic of this time in your life. The Jeffrey Marsh one, the vow of silence ends with an unexpected. Oh my God! I was out moving leaves from one side of the yard to the other when that came on, and I am not exaggerating. I yelled at you.
Couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And just so for those who haven't heard the episode, I hadn't. So my ex-wife admitted to the affair, and she'd moved out, and I hadn't seen her or her affair partner, the neighbor, in, I don't know, close to a year or something like that. And I couldn't believe it because we all live in Hartford. And so I was on a walk. I did this show about vows of silence, and I decided to do a week-long vow of silence. And it was the final full day. I was on a walk with my friend Anne. And every time I would go out with friends, they knew what I was doing, and I would just mic them up to pick up any sort of, like, my friend Derek explained to a bartender what I was doing. Yeah. So I wanted to get the sounds of people around me, and certainly not myself. And so I was on a walk with my friend Anne, and she was mic'd up, and we rounded the corner, and there was a tall figure and a short figure walking towards us, and it became clear it was my ex-wife and her girlfriend, and I'd always wondered what I would say to them if I ran into them. And I couldn't say a word. And that was great. That was great. I think that was an alignment I couldn't have requested from the universe or whatever. So when I got home, I told my friend who had been living with me for a couple months, and I had to write out everything. And you hear him being like, "You saw them?" Yeah. And it was wild.
He was hysterical,
he's so
by the way.
Sweet, right? That's my friend Derek. But what's wild is I process stuff out loud. I speak to think. That's how it works, and I love it that way. And for the first time, I couldn't do it for one of the most important interactions that I feared happening for months and months and months. And so I had to just keep it inside and not talk about it, which was hard. But I'm glad to have tried it and had that experience. I did learn that a week-long vow of silence does not permanently change anything about my interactions with people. I did learn that, I don't need to speak as much as I do, but there was no...
But it's really not changing anything.
No, nothing. I think it'd have to be a lot longer than that.
Well, with the processing things verbally, my favorite episode... See the call back there? Did you
nicely
like that?
done. Yeah. Well done.
My favorite episode is The Cuddlist.
Have you ever done something like that?
No, but it really made me reflect on that aspect of touch in your life and what it's for and what you reserve certain touch for. I really ended up going pretty deep on that. But what made that episode really special is the two interstitial bits that you recorded. One in the bathroom.
Of a cuddle party.
At a cuddle party, yeah. And the other on the way home as you tried to process. And I think there again, in somebody else's hands, there would be like, yep, we're going to a cuddle party. Okay. And I had to cuddle with a guy. Okay. But your processing of the fact that you didn't feel comfortable with that you felt yourself kind of clench up, even in a place where you understood intellectually you were safe and that was the intent of what you were there to do. It wasn't some unwanted touch. It was consensual. Mm-hmm. But listening to you process that made that really special to me. And I think that might have been, as I went back and listened, I think I had heard that when it first dropped. And then listening to it a second time, it was very moving. Tell me about that feeling of discomfort.
Yeah.
Because it seems shut up and let her talk, Claire. It seems at odds with the nudist episode, right? Where you were just like, yep, fine, not a problem. I'm enjoying this. Yeah. And then in this one, it was like, that was a really nice experience, but
Oh, Claire, I hadn't even put the two together. That's really interesting, and I see why you would. It's worth saying. So this whole professional cuddlist thing happened as a friend of mine owned a bakery, Get Baked Bakery in Windsor. It's no longer operating, but it was up for 7 years, and it was a wonderful bakery. But I was there, and I met one of my friend's regulars, and he talked about how he goes to a professional cuddlist, and of course, 10,000 questions. And he tells me her name, Amanda Ananda, and I go. This is 5-6 years ago. I go down to I didn't have a show or anything. I was just, I'm doing this, and I'm going to have the audio for something at some point. And so I set up an interview where I cuddled with her, had a mic on my shirt, and we just cuddled, and I asked her whatever questions I had. And at the time, I was dating the woman who I would later marry, so of course she knew I was doing this, and it was just an intellectual thing.
Yeah.
And then years go by, and I start seeing posts about cuddle parties. And so I contact Amanda, who's running a cuddle party, and then she invites me back to do this, and with her co-facilitator, and so it's worth saying that I went to this cuddle party at which I was kind of uncomfortable, not as someone who was seeking this for myself, for my heart. I was going there as a public radio host who was intellectually curious. And what I really loved were the people who talked to me for this episode. There was one guy who had a very quiet voice and kind of a thick accent, But it meant so much to him to have this opportunity. And it really, really, really helped him. And so I feel like I'm glad that I got to get those voices. And after the episode, I heard from a bunch of people I didn't even know this existed. And I'm going to the next party, and there's another one who just started his own cuddle party as a result of all this stuff. But I think I don't think I've resolved why I was so uncomfortable. I just know that I associate cuddling with romantic intimacy.
Right.
And that's and there was a part of me that felt like, well, why can't I change it? Why not? This is a great, cool thing. I mean, I like getting a massage, and I like, any sort of physical touch. I like hugging.
Yeah. Why
can't I just override this wiring? But it doesn't really matter why. That's what I want. So it's funny because it still floats in my head as something I haven't quite figured out. But maybe the problem is that I think there is something to figure out, and there really isn't.
Have you, and tell me if it's not something you want to talk about, but so you are divorced from, and anything changed? I mean, in terms of, are you found anybody new? Are you dating? Are you?
Mercifully, they moved to another state and city far, far away, which is great for everybody. It was a relief when they moved. And it's been about 2 years now since everything came to light. And so it's funny because I didn't want to... I'm rarely attracted to anybody. But when I am, I'm bigly attracted.
Let me just correct you on that, because bigly isn't really an adverb. Let me just jump right in and just say,
yeah, scratch that word from the record. Thank you.
I corrected Chion Wolf.
Yes. Woo! Is it hot? Can we open some kind of windows? Thank you. Thankfully, I'm not attracted to very many people thankfully in the sense that I'm not, overwhelmed with opportunities to date. But I didn't want to meet someone in the immediate aftermath of this, because I wanted to go through it. I wanted to really white knuckle my way through the pain and experience it and feel it all and explore ways of healing. It's been really wonderful. But something funny happened shortly after everything came to light. I did meet an extremely beautiful, brilliant, talented, kind, funny, playful woman. And on the first time we really hung out, she said she was polyamorous. And I know that I only want monogamy. And so it was this amazing experience of here's this beautiful, amazing human spirit that I'm very drawn to. And she's drawn to me too. But that's something that's not to be negotiated. It's not to be negotiated, in my opinion, in the same way that wanting children and not wanting children is not something you negotiate. Polyamory and monogamy, you don't negotiate that. And I don't want to.
Yeah.
And I think an earlier version of me would have either tried to convince her and tried to sway her, tried to woo her into wanting monogamy, or I would have thought, well, maybe I could, or maybe I could kind of appear like I do want polyamory until she falls in love with me and realizes she only wants to be with me. None of that happened in my head. It felt like an incredible, I really did grow up. I'm growing up. This is great. This is great progress. I'm rarely attracted to anybody. Here's this amazing human being. And no, we're not going to go down this road. And so now she is my very best friend.
Well, that's wonderful.
And we flirt with each other like mad, and that's fun.
Flirting
is fun.
Yeah.
So I'm not dating anybody right now, but I'm totally open to it. I'm feeling like I've been through a lot. I've devoted myself to being really honest with some of the decisions I made in committing to somebody who would ultimately do something like that. I also feel so at home in myself and so deeply in love with myself that I've been actually thinking about how, if I know there's a lot of love out there. I'm 43. Hopefully I'll have a long life. I'm an outgoing person. I got a lot going for me. I know the chances are I'm going to meet somebody amazing. At the same time, I like pondering the idea that, well, what if I don't? Can I still be joyful and fulfilled? And the answer is yes. But I also like making out and cuddling with my beloved.
There you go.
So I'm open to it, but certainly no rush.
One last audacious question. The episode about the eating disorders, I had to shut off. I was driving to work and I had to shut it off. And actually, when the shift was over and I was driving home, I was like, okay, let's finish this. And I was like, I can't right now. And just listen to music instead. But I wanted to talk to you, and I'm sure you see what's coming, but this moment where you were talking to this woman. Agata, yeah. And her story was just so full of self-loathing and not suicidal ideation, but a firm desire to make this stop. I know what those things feel like. I don't have an eating disorder, but I know what those things feel like. And it came across so clearly in the conversation that you said, I want to give you a hug. If I were there in the room with you right now and I opened my arms, what would you do? And do you remember what she said?
I don't remember exactly what she said, but I remember she said, I would never let you go.
Exactly.
I would never let you go. This is somebody who hasn't been touched in years.
Yeah. You guys this was a Zoom thing.
Yeah.
Tell me about where you were in that moment, because like I say, it was too painful for me to keep listening to at that point.
It felt like an honor that she would open up the way she did in such great pain, and knowing that I can't touch her, I can't help her beyond hearing her. It felt like an honor, and I also felt probably a micro percentage of what she feels all the time. Helpless. And you put your finger on it, that anorexia is the most deadly of all of the mental disorders. And the conversation was also about medical aid in dying. She's in Canada. And they just recently approved medical aid in dying for those with mental disorders. And it's been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. We've actually been following her. And we're sticking every couple months we do an interview and get an update, mainly on her frustration. And she even said in that interview, if I knew I could have medical aid in dying, I think that actually might buy me some time, because I'd have some peace and some autonomy over how this happens. And I think a lot of people who don't give it much thought, they think, well, just get therapy. I mean, maybe you just haven't tried this. What about this? But they're missing the whole story. And when you hear her story, I honestly can't think of anything you would say to her. She knows what she's been through, and what she's been through is agony for over 30 years. And so in that conversation, I felt honored and also helpless. And every time I speak with her, even now, we don't know where these series of conversations will go or lead us in terms of covering her story. But I feel a deep sense of honor and gratitude to her that she would open up the way she did, the condition she's in.
I don't have anywhere near her level of pain, but it seemed to me in that moment that what you said was the only thing, out of all the possible things, it was the only thing that would have made any sense to her. Words mean nothing, platitudes, but that offer of, let me just give you a hug. Yeah. That seemed to me to be the perfect thing to have said.
Is that something you wish you heard?
Oh, yeah. Sure. I mean, we all end up in lonely places.
Yeah. And I think we can demonstrate it. We learn, this seems tangential, but I had a party at my house a while ago, and a friend of ours got drunk, and there were probably like 200 people there. A friend of ours was pretty drunk. And I walked into the kitchen to my friend Nina, talking to him and saying, I'm taking your keys. And he's like, no, I'm fine. He does that thing that when you're drunk, you do to try to appear not drunk. And I just listened to her handle the situation. And she said, no, I know you feel like you're fine, but I'm going to take your keys. We're going to call you a cab. we're going to make sure you get home. Uber's on me. And I just heard her handle it with respect, but also like she wasn't going to budge. And I remember thinking, I always knew that was the right thing to do, but I've actually never seen it done. And now when I'm in her situation, because she demonstrated it, now I have a better idea of how I can do it. And so when I think about being in the position of listening to someone in a desperate state of mind, I know how to speak to her just barely.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it demonstrated in my life with people who are not trying to be anything they're not, other than just utterly human. And you do this work too. You are utterly yourself with this work. And that's demonstrating how we can do it in our day-to-day lives, because as long as we keep rubbing up against each other, metaphorically or in cuddle parties, we are going to be faced with times we don't know what to say. But we can utter our humanity by saying, "Can I hug you? I love you. I'm so sorry."
Thank you. Last question.
Okay.
What is the single most important ingredient for a superlative chili? Not a good chili, not like, oh, I really enjoyed that. But okay, so this is superlative chili. What's the one thing that makes it so? Okay,
Claire. I see. You've really done your research.
We've gone through all the easy stuff like eating disorders and breast cancer.
Yep.
Now I want you to dig deep and talk chili with me.
Okay. I know you said one thing, but here, where do we start? I want to give you my authority in this by telling you that I am a registered, trained, certified judge for the International Chili Society, which is a thing. I didn't realize.
You actually have to be certified for that.
You go through a 3-hour training and you pay $50, and you get a pin with your name and your number on it.
Well, it doesn't get any more official than that.
Frankly.
Yeah.
And a certificate, which I have framed in my kitchen. I mean it. I grew up going to chili cook-offs with my dad. My dad had a South Philly chili. He called it the name of it was South Philly chili, which is where he grew up. South Philly chili from the real South. So growing up going to chili cook-offs was so fun, so much fun. As I started developing my chili, Asylum Hill chili, because I like the idea of keeping with the name of the location in honor of my dad. As I started forming my chili, I realized that I really love honoring the meat. Honoring the meat. And I remember one day wondering why people put tomatoes in their chili. And by the way, in competition chili, and this has changed lately, which is a whole other conversation, but for the most part, with competition chili, beans were not allowed.
What?
Yeah, beans, hear me out. Beans are really good if you got a big family to feed, you got a restaurant to run. It spreads the chili out.
It's filler. Okay.
It's filler.
Huh.
And then I started thinking, well, maybe tomatoes are filler too. And then you think, well, wait a minute. Well, then how do you make chili? Well, it's meat and spices. It's meat and spices and broth. And to answer your question, Chardonnay.
Whoa.
Yes.
So not beer.
No. Chardonnay. So here's how I do it. I mean, well, this is honestly, if you want to do a whole other episode about
we may have to have you back.
It would be a very long time. But so when I cook all the meat and there's all these meat juices left. And in the meat juices, then I add all the onions and garlic and peppers and spices. And so they're cooking away in the meat juices. And then you add a full freaking bottle of Chardonnay. And it reduces. And so the Chardonnay gives it this delectable sweetness, like addictive sweetness, along with the spiciness. And then you use an immersion blender, and then you put it in with the cooked meats and let it simmer away for a while. And the broth is a dark, thick brown red. I can see you. Yes, I'm
salivating. I'm sorry.
Me too. No, let's just. But it is a treat, and the best part is, first of all, when you make chili, this is a very expensive chili because there's no fillers whatsoever. So that what you should do when you make it is put some aside for yourself before letting everybody else have it. That was a lesson I learned one time the hard way.
Self-care is so important,
exactly.
Chion.
And then in the next morning, you reheat the chili and you make the most cheesy scrambled eggs you've ever made, and then you put them half and half in a bowl, and then you could choose how you portion out.
So not one on top of another.
No, I like, because you could, if you want to, I mean, in the end, they'll be all mixed up.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of the beast of eating a bowl of food. But in the beginning, if you put the chili on the left side of the bowl and the cheesy scrambled eggs on the right side of the bowl, then you could kind of like control the ratio of like chili to scrambled eggs, and then the cheese. Oh, God, I can't keep talking about this. I'm going to drool over your microphone.
That is amazing. That
So
sounds
Chardonnay. It's my secret ingredient.
Okay. All right.
Whole freaking bottle.
Not what I was expecting. But thank you.
My pleasure.
I want this conversation to go on for several hours, and we can't.
I know the library's closed.
Yeah, I know. They're all, the librarians are lined up outside our little fishbowl,
got-
just sort of checking their
They've
watches.
got books that they're sort of slapping into their hands.
Whistling dangerously.
I know. And shushing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Shushing. Yeah. You don't want to get shushed.
No, I don't. Not by a librarian.
No.
I mean, that's not my kink.
That's fine.
somebody's.
We are not judging. Okay, so for those of you going to library parties, we are not judging you.
On the next episode of Audacious.
Yeah. I want credit if you do that.
Oh, yeah, you're coming with me.
Okay, all right. Well, cool. Thank you so much for this. For the 50th episode, I wanted something extra special, and here you are. So
Claire.
thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So that's the first 50. Chion, thank you for being brilliant. Listeners, thank you for, listening. Newt, the Lady Bethesda, Sun, Nomi, you are my team, you are my support, and I love you. The annual season for Pride events is coming up. Transqat will be recording participants at Springfield Pride on May 18th, Middletown on June 1st, Boston on the 8th, Higginham-Killingworth on the 9th, Providence on the 15th, and I'm also hoping to be in Burlington, Vermont for their Pride in September. More details as they emerge. There's plenty more Transqat coming your way. Episode 51 arrives in just 2 weeks ahead of Trans Day of Visibility. This has been Transqat. I'm Clare McCarthy. Thank you so much for listening. Let's talk soon.
This is Sadie McCarthy. I'm Claire's niece.
And you've just been listening to Transqat. It is made by one of my favorite people in the world, Clare McCarthy.
Transqat is a production of Transqat Enterprises, LLC.
Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.
Join us on the web at transqat.com.
That's TRANSQAT.com.
QAT.com.
QAT.com.
There you'll find links to Transqat, the blog,
writing projects,
speaking engagements,
and our PayPal donations page.
Please consider supporting our mission with your monkeys.
Monies.
Your monies.
Your monies.
Not monkeys.
Please consider supporting our mission with your monies. Any monkeys will be gratefully received as well.
Follow Transqat on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
On TikTok, we are at The Real Transqat.
Want to tell your story on air?
or ask Claire a question.
What is the deal?
She has all the answers.
Or suggest a guest or topic for an upcoming episode.
Use the contact page at the website
or email her directly at crmtranscat@gmail.com.
crmtranscat@gmail.com.
And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Bye.